Evening, welcome to our first meeting of 2023, our January 10th meeting. First of all, we would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson Superior Treaty Territory and that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Métis. Can I have approval of the agenda for tonight? Everybody's good with the agenda? Any disclosures of interest for tonight? Hearing none, we'll get right into the meeting, and the first thing on the agenda is we have a delegation tonight.
So Aaron Orr will be joining us from Public Sector Digest in order to do a presentation on our new asset management plan. Aaron, you can get started.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Now, is everyone able to see the blue slide here?
Yeah.
Great. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me again. I'm happy to be here and to present to the Township of Schreiber your newest asset management plan. So my name is Aaron Orr. I'm an asset management advisor at PSD Citywide. I worked with your staff to develop a 150-page document that summarizes the state of your township's infrastructure, your current level of service, and your asset management strategies. Today, I will be presenting a snapshot of this very detailed document. Before I begin, I do want to thank your staff again for their significant support in the development of this plan. Without their efforts, this wouldn't have been possible. So I will start with a brief explanation of asset management. So asset management is all about the services you are providing through your infrastructure. These services really bring your township to life. For example, your roads and sidewalks provide your transportation services, and then your underground mains and treatment plants all contribute to the provision of your water and sanitary services. The goal of asset management is to meet a required level of service in the most cost-effective manner through the management of assets for present and future customers. This leads us to this concept of levels of service. So an asset management plan describes the township's asset management strategies, but it also defines your current level of service. The level of service is really the main focus of the plan and the Ontario regulation which guides the development of the plan. So the level of service is defined as the coordinated activity of an organization to realize value from its assets. It can also be understood as an attempt to balance these three things. So balancing the cost to provide the service, the desired level of performance, and the risk that you're willing to tolerate. On the next slide, I have a quick summary of the regulation which guides municipal asset management programs in Ontario. The asset management plan that we developed is required under OREG 588/17, titled Asset Management Planning for Municipal Infrastructure. There are several deadlines defined under this regulation. The first was in 2019, where every municipality was required to adopt an asset management policy. And the next two deadlines are in 2022 and 2024, which require every municipality to adopt an asset management plan. The asset management plan must include an overview of the current level of service, an inventory analysis, life cycle activities to sustain your level of service, the cost of these life cycle activities, and then a discussion of growth impacts. The difference between your 2022 and 2024 asset management plan is really just the assets that are included in it. So the 2022 must include core assets. Those are your roads, storm, sanitary, and wastewater assets. Then the 2024 must include core, but also your non-core assets. Those are your buildings, machinery and equipment, vehicles, land improvement assets, and the like. The A&P that we have developed for your township today meets your 2024 requirements. So you are compliant for the next deadline, July 1st of 2024. The final deadline under the regulation is in 2025. In 2025, every municipality must adopt a renewed asset management plan that also includes proposed levels of service. So in addition to defining your current level of service, the municipality will need to define what their desired levels of services are. So the municipality will need to really define what kind of activities they want to achieve and what kind of money they need to spend in order to achieve their desired level of service. But luckily, you have a couple more years before this plan needs to come into place, so you have some time to prepare for it. So let's turn to the plan that we have today. So the data and information in this asset management plan is based on 2021 year end. The plan describes the current state of the infrastructure and asset management practices at your municipality. It also includes what changes can be made to improve the state of your infrastructure and asset management practices, and what is the township's financial capacity to meet your long-term capital requirements. So the asset categories included in this plan are your road network, storm network, water and sanitary network, and then your buildings and facilities, vehicles, machinery and equipment, land improvement assets, and then your furniture, library collections, and computers. You may notice that there are some notable changes in the figures presented in your new asset management plan compared to the plan that was delivered at the beginning of last year. So we worked with your staff to significantly improve your data. We now have far more accurate replacement values for your assets and far more accurate condition ratings for all of your assets as well. So throughout this presentation, I will be reflecting back on the figures presented in the last plan to show some of the progress that has been made. So let's take a look at your replacement cost. The replacement cost is the sum cost of replacing all of the assets that you own. So the Township of Schreiber has a total replacement value of $125.3 million. If you recall, the last asset management plan was valued at nearly half of that, at only $65.3 million. So the value has increased because we were able to find far more accurate replacement costs for your assets. In your last asset management plan, over 80% of your inventory had a replacement cost that was based on inflating the historical cost of the asset. This is not very accurate to determine today's value of those assets. So instead, we typically recommend trying to find a true cost to replace the asset in today's prices. This is done by price comparison with other municipalities or by citing local contractors. So now, almost 70% of your inventory has accurate and up-to-date replacement values. So we are a lot more confident in the replacement value that we have today of $125 million for all of the assets that you own. This replacement value is really important to have as accurate as possible because it is used to inform your grant application, and it is used by the province to determine the amount of money that is to be transferred for certain grant programs. So you want to make sure that it's a value that truly reflects how much it'll cost for the goods and services and labor to replace some of your critical assets. Your new replacement cost has a per household value of around $205,000 and a per capita value of $120,000. And as you can see, the highest value asset category is the water network, followed by the sanitary network and your buildings and facilities. Let's move on to the condition. So in this graph, we see the condition of your entire inventory per asset category. In your last asset management plan, we found that only 23% of your assets were in fair or better condition, meaning nearly 80% of your inventory was in poor and very poor condition. But with the data improvement, we found that 63% of your inventory is likely to be in fair and or better condition. So overall, the state of your infrastructure is much better than the data previously showed. The reason that this information has changed so drastically is because the data had a lot of improvements. The best way to determine condition of your assets is to gather real up-to-date assessments of your assets. So this can be from external resources that come in and do a formal infrastructure assessment, such as an engineering assessment or something similar, or we can gather estimates from your staff who are familiar with the assets. So in the absence of these assessed condition ratings, what we use is age-based conditions. This is just an approximation of conditions based on the current age of the asset and then the expected length of that asset's life. So of course, this is far less accurate than gathering assessed condition. In your last asset management plan, around 88% of your inventory used age-based conditions. So it wasn't very accurate. It likely showed that your inventory was in far worse condition than it actually was. It likely showed that a lot of your assets were in dire need of replacement, though they probably had a few more years of use for your municipality. So in this asset management plan, we actually have nearly 80% of your inventory that is assessed. The majority of those assessments are estimates from your staff expertise, but I think it shows a far more accurate image of what your inventory looks like. You'll see in this graph, it's mostly yellow. That means that the majority of your inventory is in fair condition. And fair condition means that around half of the life of that asset is still remaining. Now the information that we have here in this asset management plan and in your asset management software, it really supports your staff in their efforts to assess risk and better prioritize your capital projects. So it's really critical information. Here, for this slide, I'm going to set up my pointer so you're able to see the laser, I believe, on the screen here. Just because this is a very detailed graph. So taking a look at your capital requirements. The annual capital requirement is the amount of money that you would need to invest every year to replace failed assets on time. So Schreiber's annual capital requirement for the entire portfolio is $3.2 million. This number has certainly increased since we have a new replacement value for your assets. So on this slide, in this very detailed graph, we have the average 5-year capital requirement right here for the next 80 years. So the average 5-year requirement is actually $15.8 million. That's just taking that 3.2 value and multiplying it by 5. That's the red line here. And then the first bar that we have is your backlog. This is the amount of money required to replace assets that have already gone beyond their expected life. So assets that likely are in need of replacement in either this year or in the next couple of years. And then after that, the rest of the bars show the capital requirements in 5-year increments, so not annual, but 5 years. And then you can see that it's color-coded to show different asset categories. What you may notice is a couple hikes. So in 2032, 2047, and 2052, we have some higher levels here. And I just made sure to find out exactly what was making those higher levels here. So in 2032, this brown represents your sanitary network. And that is because a lot of your sanitary mains are up for renewal around the same time, around 2032 and 2036. For the next bar that I want to highlight, we have 2047 to 2056. And there are several assets that are reaching the end of their life around this time. So this includes your roads, your water mains are coming up for replacement. Then we have your arena that may be coming up for replacement, or at least several components of your arena. And then finally, the water dam may be coming up for replacement around this time frame. So that's why we have some of those really high costing years here. So it's important to note that this annual requirement of 3.2 million. It's not set in stone. It can change with any asset costs that are changing, and then with the condition of your assets that change as well. So now, based on the information provided, we have a summary of the township's infrastructure spending and the deficit. So as discussed, for all your asset categories, the annual capital requirement is around 3.2 million. And we've broken out the tax-funded assets and the rate-funded assets since they're funded by different sources. The tax-funded assets have an annual requirement of 1.8 million, and the rate-funded assets have an annual requirement of 1.3 million. On the next column here, we have the funding that is made available. So this is the capital funding that is made available every year from sustainable sources. A total of $443,000 is made available for capital assets every year, $228,000 for tax-funded assets, and $215,000 for rate-funded assets. This leaves us with an annual deficit of around $2.7 million. So that's $1.6 million for tax-funded and $1.1 million for your rate-funded assets. So this means that we have around 12% funding for your tax-funded assets, and your rate-funded assets are around 16% funded. So the annual requirement in this analysis does not include your operations and maintenance, nor does it include any kind of considerations for growth or for demographic changes. However, I also want to point out that the analysis only includes sustainable funding sources. So I'll break that down. The sustainable funding sources in this column, they only include the transfers for your capital budget from taxes and rates, and then 2 grants, because these are sustainable grants that we know will recur every year. We have the gas tax fund, now called the Canada Community Building Fund, and then the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, or OCIF. So those are the only funding sources that make up this total. This means that there are no one-time grants or one-time transfers included in this analysis. Those are, of course, very important when it comes to building your budget, but it can't be included in your long-term planning. So with this information, our financial consulting team provided a recommended financial strategy to enable the township to close the identified funding gap. This is just a recommendation based on the funding sources that are available. So all tax-funded assets are combined, and then water and sanitary are viewed separately. So as they have, this is because they have unique funding rates. So for all of your assets, we are looking at a 20-year period to achieve full funding. So this is a recommendation of an annual increase for the next 20 years. For tax-funded assets, we recommend a 2.8% annual increase. For your water network, we recommend a 4.2% annual increase. And then for your sanitary network, we recommend a 4.5% annual increase. So it's worth noting that, again, sustainable funding and one-time grants and transfers continue to be really important when it comes to funding your capital infrastructure and building your budget. Any adjustments to your taxes and rates should certainly be supplemented by with project prioritization and evaluation of your desired levels of service. So these figures, the annual requirements, they may change as you make changes at your municipality, changes with your infrastructure, and the level of service that you're wanting to provide. So this brings us to the final slide of the presentation. Included in the asset management plan are several recommendations throughout each chapter. So some are specific to each asset category, others are broader to support the advancement of your asset management program. It's really important to remember asset management plans are living documents. They require consistent revisions and updates. The Ontario regulation requires a revision of the data every 2 years. So we recommend that the township Continue to revise their inventory data and ensure that it is up to date. Continue to gather some assessed conditions for all of your assets. You evaluate your life cycle strategies and replacement costs. So this means evaluating the capacity to deliver your optimal life cycle strategies, reviewing your life cycle strategies to make sure they include project costs, and then reviewing your replacement costs as well. And then finally, we recommend evaluating your level of service. You'll have to continue to collect your current level of service data, and then you'll have to start talking about what your proposed or desired levels of services are. Now, that is all I have for today. I want to thank you for your time and give you the opportunity to ask any questions.
We're good for questions. We're
No
all
questions?
good. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Erin, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Do you want to just briefly go over some next steps?
Yep. In terms of next steps for asset management, I think the focus should be completing on more condition rating or condition assessments for our assets. For instance, hiring an engineering firm to go around and assess the condition of our roads and sidewalks. You know, this will give us a more accurate understanding of timelines and more accurate replacement costs that we would anticipate for the replacement of our assets. We also need to keep in mind that this plan meets compliance for the July 2024 deadline. However, another plan will have to be completed building on this plan for the final phase in July 2025. So the best way really to incorporate this asset management plan as a living document in our operations would be to incorporate it in the strategic plan that we're intending to develop. Makes sense?
I mean, to me, once we got those two steps done, you could actually start sitting down and figuring out how much do we need to move to reserves, like coming up with a better number, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Way better results than last time, though, no? Yeah.
That wasn't pretty.
No, but they're much better now that they've got some accurate numbers.
Yeah.
Move right into question period.
No questions. Of course, if there are any questions, you can send it to info@schreiber.ca with the headline question period.
Okay. Minutes of previous minutes. Resolution 3-23. Moved by Councillor Bryson, seconded by Councillor Burgeot, that the minutes of the council and committee of the whole meeting held December 19th, 2022 be accepted as circulated. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Carried.
Would you like the bright lights back on?
Pardon me?
Would you like the bright lights back on?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Just start screwing up that path. So I guess there's no business arising from the December 19th meeting. So we'll move into committee of the whole recommendations. Resolution 4-23. Moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by Councillor McGrath. The Council of the Township of Schreiber support the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association letter to the President and Vice Chancellor of Lakehead University with respect to addressing the urgent need for veterinarian services in northern and rural Ontario. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Resolution 5-23. Moved by Councillor Bryson, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that the North Shore Harvest Cupboard be approved for a grant and aid in the amount of $500 to support the Christmas hamper campaign. Any discussion?
I'll just provide an update because all of our volunteers were sick that day with that cold, so I ended up working. In their grant application, they had stated 65 Christmas hampers. The end count ended up being 77. So it was an extremely busy day and way busier than we had even counted on. So it was actually, I mean, we were able to deliver all those services. It worked out very nicely.
That's good.
How did that compare to the year before, Anne-Marie?
Up,
Up.
yeah. I think the year before we were at 69.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. All those in favor then? Carried. Thanks for the update, Henry. Accounts for payment. Resolution 6-23. Moved by Councillor Bourgeau, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that bank debits paid out in the general bank account in the month of November 2022 in the amount of $35,399.81 be approved and ratified. Discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Carried. Resolution 7-23. Moved by Councillor Bryson, seconded by Councillor Bourgeau, that checks issued on the general bank account in the month of December 2022 in the amount of $399,030.77 for general accounts payable be approved and ratified. Discussion?
There were a couple of things on here I had sent Marlene an email about, so a couple of questions. I don't know if you guys picked it up, but there was that PSD citywide, and that was for the asset management plan. That was almost $6,000. The AJ Stone, I couldn't figure out what that was. It was a fire hose, but what you'll note is that 399 is a big number, but a lot of it is with a check that was issued to RML for $162,000, which was for 3 separate invoices for the splash pad, the landscaping downtown, the downtown revitalization change orders, and any holdback. So that was a really big portion of that whole development, which of course was funded, but of course, if you're wondering why the check was so much, that's the bulk of it, was that one payment, so, for those 3 invoices.
All those in favor? Carried. Resolution 8-23. Moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Bryson, that bank debits issued on the general bank account in the month of December 2022 in the amount of $65,353.89 for payroll be approved and ratified. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Unfinished business, resolution 9-23. Moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Morrow, that the Council of the Township of Schreiber accept and authorize the CAO/clerk to sign the Global Resolution Mediation Agreement and terms of mediation. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Other business, 10-23. Moved by Councillor Bryson, seconded by Councillor Burgeot, that council accept the quotation from Beano Insurance, BFL Canada, for 2023 insurance coverage in the amount of $144,523 plus applicable taxes. Discussion?
So the premium that we have for 2023, it's consists of an increase of $18,324, or a 14.52% increase from our 2022 premium, which was $126,199 after taxes. A lot of this was attributable to the increased costs of catastrophic losses in Canada. And if you look through the package here, it gives an example of how these losses have increased through 1983 to 2001, 2011, and keeps it increasing substantially. I know that Mike Beano has joined us here and will be available if there's any other questions regarding our 2023 insurance coverage, or any other questions pertaining to the market.
The one thing I noticed in here, Nathan, was that for liability in the past, insurers were only required in municipalities 5-year loss history, but now the minimum requirement is 10 years.
Yep.
Did this have a negative impact on our rate?
Mike, did this impact our rate in
No.
terms of?
It
No,
made no difference?
not at all.
Okay.
The hard market that we've been experiencing the last few years is being driven by reinsurance. So it actually is outside of Canada. We're in this global economy. So the insurance companies buy insurance from reinsurance companies, and they push it down. And all sectors are seeing these types of increases in the public entities space, which we've been in for 60 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I've got 30 plus years experience in this space. So Nathan and I were talking about RFP, possible RFP, and we represent, Beano Insurance we're a network broker, have contracts with 2 of the 3 providers of insurance for 444 municipalities in the province. And I get good indication from my networks what's happening in the marketplace. So I have opportunities sitting in the wings, waiting for the market to open. You know, I'm in tune with your procurement policy and requirements of that. What we don't want to do, in my opinion, is cut off our nose and spite our face to have limited opportunity to go to market We've had it happen where we've received an RFP and a municipality hasn't been able to obtain insurance because the other carriers are saying, I'm sorry, we're not gonna quote it. And then they've already, even their current insurer has balked on the client and said, well, we're not gonna offer terms. So what they're attempting to do, in my opinion, is to maintain a sustainable market for public entities, municipal insurance being one of them, and they're in the driver's seat as far as I can tell.
So you think that 14% increase, is that pretty much like market standard?
They're getting 30. They're getting 30, and they have been for the last 3 to 4 years. Yeah, and not just this class of business. They're just that's what's happening, and yeah, and availability of markets, and not just municipal insurance, but it's becoming very narrow, and they want to be able to work with a municipality, and that the municipality understands that we're providing a service, they're providing capital, and to do the risk management and protection of the community. So it's not something that they're commoditizing or allowing that to happen in this hard market. Once the market turns into a softer market, then all of a sudden we're out running, picking up, opportunities, and so what I was suggesting to Nathan is that we wait till Q2 and find out what the market's doing. Every year we're anticipating that the market's going to soften, and I have these roundtable discussions with my networks of, as a director of Insurance Brokers Association of Ontario. We have these discussions all the time. When are things going to turn? And it just hasn't happened, and we've been anticipating it year after year. So what I'm suggesting to Nathan is that we wait to Q2, second quarter, see what's happening in the marketplace. Again, I get good indication from my contacts that the door is open type of thing to do business, and that we're not going to have our current insurer say, once they find out that we're going to RFP, that they will entertain providing us terms and conditions, as opposed to saying,
this is what it is, you gotta take it.
or we're not offering terms.
Right.
Which we've come across, and Nathan can attest to that. So
overall, 14% is not that horrible considering what else is going on.
Absolutely, yeah, and they're getting it, like they're getting it, and in some classes, it's causing that much of an upset that industry's failing just simply because of the insurance costs.
How long have we been in this hard market now?
I would say the true hard market about 5 years.
And what will change that?
Profitability and sustainability of, again, this is being driven mostly in part by the global.
So it's a global events that are.
Yeah, so the reinsurers, like you take a look at Hurricane Ian in Florida, it's far removed from here, but the reinsurers, it's on their backs. So at the end of the day, they're the ones that insurance companies go to buy reinsurance. So depending on what's going on around the globe, does definitely show up on our doorstep here. So it's a tough one to predict. Again, the experts that we get to talk to, always anticipate that things are going to soften, and then the next catastrophe hits, and then it's just coming up with those. So, I'd like to see things are turning, Dan, but I haven't had any indication. I shouldn't say that. In public entities, I haven't seen that yet. but in some commercial business that we struggled with, they're now entertaining some classes of business where they wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole in the last 5 or 6 years. So, and they have the same litmus test basically as the public entity insurers, that we've got to make money in this class of business, otherwise why are we in it? And you take a look at reciprocals, where they might be great in a soft market where they're picking up a bunch of accounts, but as soon as that turns again, you're back into a situation where you're potentially paying a lot more, sometimes double what you come out of. So it's
And the only other thing I would say, Nathan, I noticed is that you've had to raise some of our deductibles.
Yep. I mean, that's again to help with the premium price, and also
Right.
just to keep in mind that we need to really be selective with high potential cases. I mean, I don't want to put in any small sort of claim
No.
because again, they're looking now at 10 years back in terms of claims, and so I don't want any small things on there to make us look like we're more of a higher risk candidate to insure. So
Did, when operations had the camera equipment and stuff installed on our vehicles, does that have a positive impact?
I put that into the insurance package when they were looking at, again, what steps we're taking to ensure
Minimize risk, yeah.
minimize risk. So I certainly put that in there.
and they did acknowledge that is a plus. I don't know if you recall that, Nathan, but they did. Those types of measures are always favorable in terms of selling it, because we deal with wholesalers that are out in the marketplace with different insurance companies and stuff, so they have to sell it to another insurance company who come back and say, yeah, that's you're doing your due diligence, you're putting those measures in place to minimize potential losses.
Yeah.
And that stuff they like to. Is there a dollar figure? No.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Is it a situation where they could say, well, unless you do this, that, or the other thing, it might be along that lines where it might be a requirement or
To even get insurance?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So doing it?
There's no downside to doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No downside to doing
And the main thing, is using it to argue any sort of liabilities or claims. I mean,
Right.
if you're just depending on someone's word of mouth of a certain event, that may be all you have. But if you have camera footage, the camera doesn't lie, right?
Well, and it certainly protects some of us from risk, right? Or some smaller claims for risk, especially now that our deductibles are up.
Yeah. I mean,
Makes sense.
slip and falls and vehicle accidents, just an ongoing concern. And yeah, I don't want it to be put on our record for 10 years, right? So.
And that frequency, that's one of the measurements that they have, the claim frequency. So when you're self-insuring with a higher deductible, those incidents that do happen, you take care of them. But if you put them on as a claim,
Then
it's the frequency, right?
Right.
It's just one of the natures of the beast as far as trying to not only keep your insurance costs down, but it's the availability and
Only 3 providers now?
yeah, has been for years.
Wow.
Yeah, has been for years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and again, we represent 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
So I have options, right? So, but it's to be in a favorable position that the others are interested in entertaining the municipal insurance. So.
Okay.
Any questions for Mike? Thanks.
Thank you,
Very
Mike.
much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
I'd like to be able to say that, hey, we have a 14% reduction in premiums, and where I've done that in the past, and it feels really good. But as a small business and a taxpayer, and it's really we will keep an eye on what's happening, and if we have the opportunity, like I said,
Later this year.
Yeah, but.
But if we're seeing some averages of 30%, I mean, I guess we have to live with 14.
That's what's going on, so. Thank you for your time, and thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
If
Mike.
there's anything that comes up, you know how to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so after discussion, all those in favor? Carried.
Good work, Nathan, by the way. That's not a little bit of work, it's a lot of work.
Yes. Resolution 11-23. Moved by Councillor Morrow, seconded by Councillor McGrath, that bylaw 1-2023, being a bylaw to provide an interim tax levy and to provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalties and interest, be given first, second, third in final reading and enacted. Discussion?
This is a normal bylaw that happens every year, right? It's just a matter of saying, we're basing it on 2022, but we're gonna collect them early.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. It's
okay.
for cash flow, so we
Right.
get taxes coming in.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, well now we'll move into our committee of the whole portion of the meeting with our department reports and committee board minutes. What did I do? Okay, number 1, Director of Operations report, status update.
Tammy actually took some time out of her busy schedule and sat with me. Benji and I had taken some water training, and I had some questions, and she provided the information. It's very interesting to see how the municipality works with Aqua, how it's kind of a give and take type of relationship. But yeah. And Tammy, do you want to just give them a brief update on heating?
For the municipality or for the municipal complex? It's been a challenge getting parts. It's all through the industry delivery challenges. We do have the circulating pump now. It's sitting in Thunder Bay. So Cloud Darling will be here on Monday to install that circulating pump. That will eliminate the small oil burner that's there now. And then, so by the end of next week, we should be 100% on propane. Following that process, a different crew will come in and we'll start with the controls. Getting rid of the pneumatic controls and going digital.
I'm going to.
Digital controls.
Right, okay.
Which will give us better control in the different zones of the building.
And the whole running out of propane thing, it looks like you settled that.
Yes, yeah, that was Superior Propane that did not have the final inspection at their fingertips. They did finally find it in the file, and they made it happen pretty quickly actually once that all got ironed out. We had, I think they might have delivered us just the tail end of a truck and then sent in a fuller truck later. But I've been keeping an eye on the oil as well. We're very close to being out again, so I'm just keeping an eye on that, and we may end up putting a little bit in on Thursday just to tie this over.
Till
to
the
make
change
sure.
gets made.
Yeah. We have a plan in place anyways to empty the tank when we do decommission it, and then we'll have 60 days to get the tank out of there.
Okay.
And
And there's
we'll-
plans for that as well?
Yep, it's all, yep, we have a plan.
And then your last piece, I love this. You know, we've already talked about it. I'm excited.
I would suggest having the council join me on a tour of the facilities around town. I think it would help make a lot of sense out of the recommendations that we put forward. So if you can see firsthand on some of the maintenance challenges that we have, particularly at the water plant, wastewater plant, and then we can, I'd like to take you to the arena as well and show you the challenges there. So I just think it'd be very beneficial if we can arrange a time that's suitable for everyone to go on a little tour.
I'm flexible.
I'm flexible, sign me up. Yep.
Okay.
So you said water, wastewater, and the arena?
The arena, wastewater, water treatment plant, we can show you some of the challenges at Public Works as well,
Public
because we
Works.
have a roof issue there. So yeah, we can definitely do that. So if everybody's available, say Monday the 16th, I can make time available to take you around. So a couple of you are still working, so what time of day is suitable for?
It's hard to say day to day for me, but I mean, most days I can.
Is one
Like
day of
3
the week
o'clock?
better than another?
Not really, I don't know what's gonna happen,
Okay.
10 minutes from now at work, but,
So you're flexible?
yeah.
Yeah.
But most days, if it's the normal day, at 3 o'clock or so.
3 o'clock suits you?
Kinda,
Yeah, I could
4
do,
o'clock.
I could do 3.
So 3 o'clock on Monday would be suitable then for,
Yeah,
okay.
hopefully that leaves us enough.
How long do you think
Daylight
it'll
or-
take though?
Depends how much you talk.
Dave's saying, don't let Anne Marie come. I'm so
No.
excited about
I
the
would-
water plant. I can't wait.
Think that it would take probably an hour to 2 hours to complete. Because once we do get into the water treatment plant and the wastewater plant, there's a lot to see and talk
Yeah.
about there.
I will speak very quickly once we're on
Yeah.
the wastewater treatment plan.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
my daughter teaches skates on Mondays, that's all. So as long as we're done by 5, I should be fine.
I can
Otherwise,
make
I'll
that
just bail.
happen.
Oh, yeah, you'll be done.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. You're still up, Tammy. Number 2, Director of the Aqua expenditures.
There's a recommendation from Director of Operations. The council accept the expenditure request from Aqua in the amount of $8,139.99, including taxes, for the drainage and inspection of the clarifier. Now, this is an additional cost to when we initially had it was around $7,000, correct? That was budgeted to.
That was budgeted to, yeah, and then we discovered that the sludge return line under clarifier 1 was plugged, so we had to empty that down and clean up that pipe so that it wasn't plugged anymore.
Does that happen often, or is that just kind of a one-off?
That was a one-off based on we've been running one clarifier for a number of years now because
Right.
of the amount of sewage that comes down and what our plant can handle. It doesn't really warrant both clarifiers to be running. However, in the spring when we get the influx of runoff, it does pose a problem because it's spring, it hasn't thawed out yet. So you can't use that second clarifier to help you out when your flows get high. So we have activated both clarifiers now that we run at 3/4 capacity, half to 3/4 capacity. So both are readily available when we do get into potential trouble in the spring.
And even now, if one of them quit, it wouldn't be an issue because you could just turn up the other one.
Exactly, yep.
And this was actually to remove sludge, so let me guess, this is, the sludge that was removed is not going to our drying beds then, right?
No, the sludge that's removed, it's still on your water report, and it shows that it's going to landfill, but the sludge that's in the back truck will be in Bill's drying beds.
Okay.
They have a pit that they're licensed to dump in. They
So-
can't just dump anywhere.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good with the 8,000?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. 3, the Special Projects Administrator's report to Trail.
A recommendation from the Finance and Special Projects Administrator that council accept the RFQ from Precambrian Natural Surface Trails and enter into a contract to complete a trail feasibility and engineering study for phase 2 of the A6 trail. The total cost we're looking at here is $43,561.22 plus applicable taxes. Unfortunately, we do have a grant that would be covering this entire expense.
Sounds good.
And this is just a continuation of other trail projects.
Yep. So ideally, this would be a full circle connection actually for this trail, making it really good for, I guess, people to go around the whole route.
A lot safer.
Yep.
Because that's
Yeah,
a
they
real
break that.
sketchy part of the trail he's gonna be working on. Yep. Parts of it, not all of it, just parts of it. Going up from the creek.
Yeah.
Up to the top of the hill there, it's, you gotta be careful.
Do they have a timeline for how long the feasibility study will take? I'm assuming they're not going up there now, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, they stand in here, don't they?
they do.
Oh, I didn't see that,
No.
sorry.
I think it's gonna be just one season here.
They say they're starting something in June, right?
So it'll be done by the end of the summer, they'll have this study done or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometime. So yeah, so field work June, draft feasibility August, meeting to discuss August, final feasibility engineering study September.
There it is, sorry.
Yeah.
So hopefully, once we have this, next stage is we'll apply for another grant
Yeah.
To get the.
build it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got the
Yeah.
engineering study, it just makes
You
sense
need
to
it,
go to the
yeah.
next step.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, number 4, bylaw enforcement officer report. I guess the question I got is, we got the ongoing activities, down on the ongoing activities, working on a new noise bylaw. Like, to me, how can I say it? To me, that's really, I mean, sure, there's gonna be issues, but who comes up with the criteria, which bylaw to update?
That's certainly not the only one. We go through a number of bylaws, and what happens is as we run into certain, circumstances or situations where it tests a portion of the bylaw, we then look at it in a different lens when we are seeing the applicability that what if someone were to challenge it, for instance, or what would it be its applicability to stand test in court. So that's where we're constantly looking at updating these, for instance. Do they meet, for instance, the standards that we have today? Sometimes I believe the old noise bylaw is pretty outdated, so that's part of what we're looking at. I know that she has a few examples here, but it's much more than that. The majority the majority of her time spent, you know, especially right now, has been on overnight parking tickets and for snow accumulation. So those are the main sort of events going on.
Okay, and also like working on, there's 3 of them
Yeah.
going on here. And I did ask to work on the ATV bylaw.
Because we have had some complaints.
Yeah, definitely had some complaints on that. Okay, so I guess my next question is, who's working on them?
The ATV bylaw is still what you say, there's not too much progress in that. We have pretty limited time with bylaw. We're looking at, you know, typically 1 hour to 1.5 hours per day. So if there's ongoing work that we have, such as tickets that need to be registered or any notes that need to be filed, it takes up a significant amount of time. Right now, I was looking through the logs, and there was approximately about 33 tickets that we're processing. So,
Is that due to these 4 overnight parking patrols, Nathan?
yes.
Okay.
From parking patrols. Yep.
Sorry.
So,
Continue.
eventually the process is, you know, she can look into it, work with colleagues on these bylaws, but ultimately, once there is a draft, it'll be put in front of me. I'll look through it as well, and once it's ready, then I'll bring it to council. We have to then research on if there are going to be any fines, what are the appropriate set fines that we want to put. So certainly, things like this take some time. And unlike what you say, any other typical bylaws that we may pass for office administration, for instance, these bylaws which have set fines associated and have potential court challenges associated with, we need to make sure that they are enforceable. So part of that is looking at how how the investigation process would work and how the wording in that bylaw would be applicable to that investigation. Any sort of bylaw inquiry, supposing we get a call for, oh, there's been a violation. First thing that, you know, we need to do is look into it, see if there is a violation, do that investigation. If there is a violation, which part of the bylaw is it violating? To read that section of the bylaw, look at what's happening actually there in front of you, document it, possibly get witness statements, get pictures. You're building a case almost like a prosecutor. So that's where the time-consuming element, you know, comes in. Because again, with a lot of these bylaws, and whether they're part ones are, for instance, your land maintenance tickets, are snow accumulation tickets, for instance, those would be part ones. Part 2 have to deal with more or less vehicles. They all have their means to be essentially challenged in court. So what we want to do is make sure it's as efficient as possible, so that as little time as possible is spent dealing with them arguing in court.
By having a strong bylaw.
Strong bylaw and strong documentation when it's challenged.
So some of this ongoing work on updating bylaws is because we have complaints or possible complaints.
Right, and you know, it also depends if council's priority is to, you know, get a new bylaw expedited. You really want to see, you know, new bylaw come into force for a certain area. That's certainly something we can do. More or less at that point, I'd have to work on it in terms of my priority and bring it up, would you say, to make it happen much sooner. So, you know, if that's the case for anything, I can, of course, expedite it and work on that myself.
Yeah, because I really would like to see the ATV bylaw. Like, I don't know if it needs to be updated or anything. I would, like, I
We
don't want to see.
We don't have a current ATV bylaw, do we?
I think we have something that covers it. We'll have to research what existing bylaws we have,
Okay,
whether they're still
Okay.
applicable,
okay.
whether
sorry.
there are set fines that are registered
Yeah.
for those
Okay.
bylaws, so. It-
Something came up years ago, like the use of ATVs on roadways that we had to pass.
Yeah, but it certainly takes time. It
But I don't
takes,
think
it
there's
takes.
like a specific penalty if you
Yeah.
don't follow it type of bylaw
Bylaw.
written.
Like, I agree with you, this ATV bylaw is probably gonna be becoming an issue, it's more, because I mean, ATVs are almost getting more popular than snow machines now, really. My question, I like your question about the noise, my question on, we're working on a new firearms discharging within town limits? Holy moly,
Yeah.
that's why I asked if this complaint from holy. Anyways, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
The ATV bylaw 10, 2010.
There is an
10?
applicable one, okay.
Yeah, and from what I can remember of it is like, you have a privilege of going into the bush and stuff like that. And I definitely want to see that stay, but when you're using ATVs for your everyday life, going to the bank, the post office, the grocery store and everything else, and you don't got a driver's license and you're driving whatever, you're gonna get somebody in trouble and the town's gonna get sued. That's when I got an issue. I don't want to see them lose the privilege of what it's supposed to be. And that's the part that I wanted looked at.
Ken?
I don't think we gotta reinvent the wheel here. I just think we ought to educate ourselves on it and enforce it.
I could certainly move it up as a priority to try to get that done much quicker.
That's all. Okay, thanks, Nate. Any other questions? Number 5, bylaw enforcement, and dog license, the extension for the dog licensing discount.
So a recommendation here that council extend the discounted dog licensing fee from January 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2023.
Cause they don't have tags.
Yeah, we'll put it on tags. Yeah,
I
that
think
makes sense.
in general, it works out pretty well if this discount is applied, for the first quarter anyway. Gives people a bit more time.
Okay,
Okay.
good with that then. Number 6, recreation programmer report.
Here's a recommendation that council approve the request in changing the lengths of each event pertaining to Winter Carnival and Heritage Days to a shorter amount of time to reduce overtime accrued by employees and stress due to a large lack of volunteers. And is looking at Winter Carnival for a period of 4 days and Heritage Days for a period of 4 days at the dates that are posted there.
I get the thinking behind it, I do. Her analysis it's not like it doesn't make sense about shortening these. You're gonna avoid overtime, saving on running costs, saving on printing, advertising. A few previous activities have been risen due to the province's rising inflation. This has affected the cost of delivery, travel, I get all that. And I guess my only concern is, because we're still working on getting our committees up and running, is this something that council wants to do without any input from committees? I'm not saying we can't, it's just a question.
Well,
Well,
I
I think-
agree with you too. I think the idea is right. Like, I think a lot of our things almost become repetitive, you know, over the length that it is right now. But I agree with you. I think if we make the change, it should be based on feedback from the committees that are being put in place right now.
Tammy, did your
Deb?
rec
We
committee
did talk with the
about this?
committee today
Oh, okay.
about these dates, and they said that it was a long time in coming, and they were completely on board and supportive of shortening the length of time for both events.
For both Winter Carnival and Heritage
Yep,
Days?
yep.
So we're not going to hear,
For the record,
We
we
didn't
tried
like
this 8
this.
years ago.
no, but no, but just to be, I mean, just so that I
Alright.
know that we're not gonna, I'm not gonna hear in the street, you shortened this event and nobody wanted that.
Committee was completely on board. Very
And that was
supportive.
today?
Yep, today. And we had a good showing for members. We had 4 people in attendance today.
Well, so there you go. It's done. I think it's a great idea.
Well, you're gonna hear it, Anne Marie, from certain ones.
Ultimately,
The
the
committee members don't know the financials.
I absolutely
of being
understand.
here. The committee members don't know the employees harping on you and harping on the management, harping on, maybe you haven't seen it yet. They can't get their damn holidays because they got 10 days Heritage Days and this and that and like.
No.
And I
whole-
look
the whole
around,
premise
and I
makes
also
sense.
look around and I look at all the other communities around here and they're going 2 days. Terrace Bay had their 75th anniversary, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 3 days. And we're shortening these to 4 days, and you know what? We'd have a hard time. The last 10 days, Heritage Days, I am not going to take it away from that committee. That 10 days was a knockout job last year.
Last year, you have to admit, Heritage Days was phenomenal.
Everybody did a fantastic job. It was phenomenal and everything. But I think, my personal opinion, I think you can go back to a little longer Heritage Days on your anniversaries.
Yeah.
But just your normal days, like.
Yeah, I was on the rec committee last term, and you know, we wanted to have a good return after COVID to Heritage Days, and there was a lot of work involved. We had very few on our committee, and they worked their butts off.
They did.
To accomplish what they did, and kudos to them for doing that. But there was also a lot of activities where there wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of thought going into everything. There was a lot of activities laid out for Heritage Days, but the participation wasn't as good as I thought it would be.
At
So,
some events.
At some events.
Yes.
Yes.
Ultimately, the problem with the length is you're making up events because of luncheons every day. So that's why it ends up being a week. So it's like, okay, well, there's a luncheon on Monday, so then Winter Carnival has to start on Monday. But now we need to fill something for Monday night, and no one wants to go to it. And then it becomes an issue of, okay, well, if we're doing this, they still gonna do their luncheons and stuff? Because that's where you're gonna hear it. You're not gonna hear about any evening activity. They don't care as long as there's still junior Pictionary, the poker run, and corporate Pictionary for Winter Carnival. No one's gonna care. But if they cancel those luncheons, you're gonna hear it,
And why do you think we hear about it?
because that's what happened last time. Because
No,
we
but
did
why-
this.
Why do you
Because
think
it's
we hear
different.
complaints about
Because
it?
it's different and it's a change.
Or is it something to do with we've got nonprofit groups trying to raise money and it's hard to raise money in this climate?
I totally agree, and there's no one saying they can't do those luncheons though.
I'm not saying that either.
No,
I'm
I
just saying,
know.
because it's you guys that sit on festivals committees, right? I just want to make sure that everything's taken into account and that I like Tammy's comment that there was a meeting and they were I just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that moving forward, if we're gonna do this for all the right reasons, that it's explained that way. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I see a winter carnival as winter carnival activities, right? And 4 days, I think, is perfect.
Plenty long to get the
Plenty.
activities that wanna get
Yeah.
done.
I think especially in the winter, I mean, the summer, you have people coming back from wherever they are, taking their summer vacation, whereas the winter,
Just-
everybody's still working,
It's
everybody's
just Territory
still.
Schreiber that you're gonna.
Yeah. But even
Okay.
when you get your
Just wanna make sure we're all thinking about it.
like even when you get your reunions in the summertime for Heritage Days, it's, cause this one was an anniversary one, they came a little sooner, but they're mostly planned for Thursday to Sunday.
Right.
So they would be captured in this.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to suggest, my only suggestion is they need to figure out what to do about the luncheon situation
Well,
to make people still happy about that. Cause those are well attended every
Yeah.
day, right? Those might be there might be 3 activities, that would be the only well attended thing.
So would you want your
What do
rep
you-
person to approach these groups? Is that what you're thinking? To
I'm-
say, hey,
I'm-
we're changing this, like after tonight,
Yeah, I
after
would-
this gets passed, to say,
If the
hey,
committee thinks that, like, I wasn't at the meeting, if they think, like, I think this is great, but yeah, they need to talk to those groups.
right?
And if there's groups, I would argue that if there's groups doing luncheons that have always done it and that are an outside entity from the municipality, I would say they get first dibs at the luncheon, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense.
But that's a discussion for the committee.
For the
I guess.
committee, absolutely. I just want to make sure that we're taking all of this into account. And I agree with you. We can't have the Heritage Days we had last summer every year. It wouldn't make any sense. But I get this. This makes sense. Her analysis makes complete sense. About the cost, absolutely. But I just want to make sure that committee's happy with it.
4
I
days will
don't.
burn you out too.
Well,
Yeah,
because
fair
we
enough.
don't want to pass this and have the 4 committee members we've got say, well, you know what, we're not happy, see you later.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So, thank you, Tammy, for that there was a meeting.
Hey, even like Dave says, you get a luncheon on Monday and it seems now you're planning Monday to Sunday. Like, I don't know if this will make any sense. Now that we know we're trying to narrow it down to 4 days, 4 action days. I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but maybe start planning it Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you know what? Maybe we're gonna have to throw in a Wednesday. Maybe, but we might be able to fit that in and do the 4 days.
Or maybe the committee's gonna approach one of these groups and they're just gonna say, hey, listen, we'd like to do a spaghetti supper instead.
Yeah,
so now you-
more opportunity or,
Yeah.
Just wanna, do you know what I'm saying? And I get it, we have to make the hard decisions, but when you guys heard it yourself at election, well, we're losing community spirit and stuff. No, we're not. It's just, I wanna make sure that we're trying to keep the community serviced with the events and festivals that we have. That we're running it for that reason. Sorry. Okay,
That makes sense.
sorry, me.
I mean, either way, you're gonna get feedback, and we'll go from there. Again, what we're gonna do is work on event plans. I know that Winter Carnival is fast coming, so at least this will provide some direction. But of course, you know, at the end of the day, we do want to deliver. So.
Yeah, no, I understand.
If the feedback comes, let us know. I mean, the sooner we know things in advance, the easier it's gonna be, because then we can plan everything well out ahead of time. And make sure that, you know, whether it's attendance of staff or whatever resources are put into place well in advance. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, we're good with it then. Number 7, the Schreiber Public Library meeting minutes.
Yeah, these are the minutes from this November meeting. If there's any questions?
What was the thing about security cameras or?
Yeah.
They were just wondering if the cameras were watching employees. And I assured them that was not the purpose of the cameras. So they were wondering if we were gonna develop a policy of some sort about that, and I said, I don't really know, but I know that is not the intention of them at all.
Yeah. No.
It's not a big brother thing. You were
Yeah.
clear with that.
I was very clear.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good answer.
Yeah.
Is there a feeling that we need a policy?
There is what you say, policies that are required for, employers that have, is it 25 or more employees?
25, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's a
25,
big
yeah.
number, right?
And it's about, electronic monitoring, policy that,
I think you're
some
right.
employers
Yeah.
need. That would certainly, I think would certainly be on the radar for us. We are pretty close to that threshold, just so that we're prepared. That being said, with the security cameras, they've been installed with the intent again for building security, but not being installed for the intent of looking at employees. So.
Right. And Davis said, he was pretty clear with that. I must say, Dave, reading through this, even the highlights of 2021, holy moly, they're
Yeah.
a busy group,
Yeah, the stats are on there.
Yeah.
They're always surprising when you see the
right?
numbers that with each different thing. Right?
Yeah,
There's
it's,
also-
it's incredible.
Yeah, they also, that digitization project is all done, so you can actually go back to 1947 and look at the Terrace Bay News. There's a little thing on here. You can check it out if you guys want.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
And your next library meeting?
I believe it's a Thursday.
Okay. Right on. They provide excellent service. Oh yeah, here's our ontario.ca, yeah, very good. Woo-hoo.
Okay. Number 8, Aqua, Schreiber Water and Wastewater Treatment Report, November.
I have more than 4 pages this time.
Any questions, or you want to speak to it, Tammy, or?
The report was pretty straightforward. The numbers all look good. I would draw your attention to the sewage performance assessment report, where it shows 184 square meters that was pumped in November, and that had to do with the back truck. So the discrepancy in the two numbers is what was bagged versus what went in the back truck.
Right. Because on whole, it's like 8, 17, 26, 26.
Yeah,
it's a
and in
big
the
jump.
past they weren't. In fact, in the past we were seeing lower numbers, so we were concerned that we weren't doing enough bagging. And that was always the reason, is that the back truck hauled it away, so I've asked them to include those numbers.
Yeah.
So it gives us a more accurate picture. Anne-Marie was also questioning about the compliance summary, where it shows the monthly sewage chlorine usage and why we see so many not applicables in there. And according to regulation, we only need to chlorinate at the wastewater treatment plant between May and October.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's one time we use chlorine. Which makes sense, because if the water's frozen, why do you add in chlorine? Or the sewage is frozen. Chlorine's not gonna help, right? Isn't that the general
Well,
thinking behind
it's not
it?
frozen, but it's cold.
Cold.
Yeah. So if we ever went to UV, would that be the same thing? It would only run for
No,
It's
UB
unlikely.
would,
It would be all
Yep.
season, so.
yeah.
Right
And we
now-
can expect to see that engineer report coming very soon. They've completed the study,
Right,
so we'll see that very soon in the next couple of months for sure.
okay.
We've been fortunate that we have existing ECA that allows what you say chlorination to stop basically over winter
Right.
months. Once that UV project is initiated, that ECA is going to be opened up and
Okay.
likely all intended. We're understanding from Aqua is that they're going to get us chlorinating.
Once that ECA
Chlorinating
opens
all
up,
year round.
everything
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No more grandfathering after that.
Right.
So the only other thing that I would draw your attention to is there was an inspector that visited the plant November 22nd. September 27th, he was there. They had a meeting November 29th. So I do have that report now. There was a lot of questions I had, so I just received it late last week. I had a lot of questions that I needed to discuss with Aqua concerns. So I'm armed with that information now, so you'll see the inspection at the next meeting.
Okay.
It was definitely an improvement over the 2021 inspection.
Like big?
As far as improvement, yes. There was some,
that's good.
there was a lot in the 2021, and improvements have definitely been made. And the largest thing that I can say about this inspection is the exceedances that we know exist. So it's that filter optimization study that will deal with the turbidities coming out of the filters.
Right.
And the HAAs, which is caused by pre-chlorination. So Patrick Couture has a plan to address all of that, and so I'll be able to better present it to you next meeting.
Actually, with all that
Okay.
knowledge. Customer turn, it's very exciting. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
learning about
I
water,
guess-
it's very good.
Yeah.
I guess, are we gonna get them at a meeting? Are we gonna get them to come back to quarterly meetings now that
They were planning to come
COVID is
here.
over?
We have a schedule, potential schedule for June, to have them come and do a presentation.
When?
June?
I like, we were talking even about it, and I was saying even with policing, a lot of stuff. They shouldn't have just come, they've been nice to have like a community meeting, right? And explain some of this stuff.
Okay. Okay, then, with no more questions for Tammy, then we'll move on into communications. I guess first up would be E4M.
Just,
Yes, we are.
just a continuation sort of letter in terms of integrity commissioner services.
Right. And we have, in the past, gotten some reports from these people. Right.
We've got reports
Off
on
and on.
items, what you say, outside of integrity commissioner.
Yeah, even, yeah.
Matters. They do have a wide range of services they provide.
Didn't they send us like a graphic that said we had 0?
Yes, they do that sort
Yeah.
of yearly annual report.
Just like yeah, that's like a nothing graphic.
But again, should anything pop up, they certainly are there.
They're a good resource for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natural gas prices going up along with everything else.
The
Felt like sending them a letter, at least you guys have natural gas.
Yeah. Aren't you lucky? Yeah, right?
We don't even have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real big concern of ours, prices going up at this point.
No. And then, City of Kingston,
I'm
circular economy.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, unfinished business.
Okay.
We're all okay with that?
Mm-hmm. New counselor orientation session? Are you moving on? Sorry, Wayne.
No, go ahead.
Well, Nathan's attached that he's received an email that AMO is also presenting new counselor training. No, AMO is the one we signed up with. This is
Right.
being presented by
MMAH.
MMAH.
And
Which-
it's free?
And it's free. So I just, out of curiosity, had to look between the two, because we've already signed up with the AMO training.
Yeah.
So, the MMAH stands for, sorry,
Municipal Affairs.
Municipal Affairs, okay. They're running theirs from 1 to 4, right? AMO's running full day.
Mhm.
They're covering 3 areas that AMO is not covering: council staff relations, which we already have a policy for, emergency management and disaster financial assistance, and affordable and social housing homelessness, which is part of that new community quality thing. But AMO's presenting municipal finance and strategic planning that they're not, which to me is pretty big. And then it's also talking about personal liability, municipal conflict of interest, code of conduct, and fiscal responsibilities and realities of municipalities, human rights, and more. So they were covering more. I know it's costing us. I'm just saying AMO was full day and MMAH is half day, and with good reason. The coverage isn't the same. But I know it's free. I got you. So we're currently signed up for
March the 10th.
March the 10th, sorry, March the 10th. So I don't know, it was, I think, me, you, and Benji that had signed up for that full day. Do you guys want to change though and do the half day instead?
I'm, you know what, whatever's gonna be more beneficial,
Nathan?
I mean, you all, I mean, with the free session, it's free. I mean, if anyone wants to register, skip, I mean,
Yeah.
a portion of it is virtual.
Yeah.
And just pay attention to the additional parts. If you wanted to register to both,
Yeah.
or if you can't make it for one, maybe,
Right.
registering for the second one at least gives you an opportunity. When is the,
February
February
10th.
10?
February 10th and March the 10th.
Yeah, I think it's worth
One's first.
registering for that one, and then we can attend virtually.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's what we were gonna do even with the March 10th one, right? Was we were gonna attend virtually, we weren't going anywhere.
Is it possible to attend virtually, that one?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But still costing you
it's costing
Cost you the same,
$525 for
right?
3 of us to attend.
for the same whether it's virtual or,
Maybe you'll do this first one and
yeah.
change your mind.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
maybe,
I think it's worthwhile to register for it, yeah.
So you want to register for the February 10th one then as well?
Yeah.
Emery?
I don't know because we got an email this afternoon about some budget planning during that time frame. Hang on.
it's during that,
Is it during that?
that week.
Yeah.
I think it's towards the end of that week.
The email said the 16th.
Yeah, February 16th to
18th is a
18th for
Saturday.
for full budget.
So, was that real?
Potentially.
Okay, I was just curious. I thought maybe she had wrong number.
If you all don't wanna, definitely don't want, that's off, what do we say, off limits for y'all, we can certainly. put
No,
it-
no, I just thought it was a
Yeah.
typo, that's all.
No, that's my word is the amount of paperwork we're gonna have to weed through before we get to that meeting. But yeah, if it works out, we have till January 30th, right? To enroll, if we want to attend this one virtually.
Yeah, if you don't attend, if you don't have time to attend, you don't attend.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, there's no
Yeah,
penalty.
no, I guess that's
no
true
penalty.
enough, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Do you want me to register you, Benji?
Okay, good. Okay, move on to other business then, and what's up there at Thunder Bay District Municipal League, the conference, so.
So it's happening March 23rd to 24th at the Prince Arthur Waterfront Hotel. The early bird rate is $175, but the deadline for that is Feb 1st. So we'll need to know who wants to go to that.
You're going, right? You'll be going because you're on municipal league, yeah.
Oh,
Will you go?
this is one that's open to everybody. It's networking and the whole bit.
This is a Thursday and Friday.
Like we'd have.
Mm-hmm.
It starts at noon. Starts at noon on Thursday, so we don't have to leave until Thursday morning, and then just overnight and back home Friday.
Yeah, I could make that work too.
There you go.
Yeah, you get to meet all the local folks.
Anne Marie.
I would have to check because I think those dates coincide with a DSAB meeting someplace in there. I've got the schedule
They won't.
January, February, but I haven't seen any
They won't
March
do that.
DSAB meeting.
No, they won't do that.
They won't do that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think DSOT would move.
But they would move, you
I
think?
think so.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got January 26th and the end of February as well. There's another DSAB meeting then.
Do you do that virtually, or?
I'm doing tomorrow, there's the orientation. I'm doing that virtually through Teams. Unfortunately, the inaugural meeting is the Thursday, and I've already got committed to going to Thunder Bay with you guys, so I'm going to not attend the inaugural, but the board packages, they give you a board sign-in, so I've already looked at the package and the things that they're covering, and I think it's okay to look at the minutes following that, but I've already replied to Glenda Frank and said I will be at the January 26th meeting for sure. And then we return first, and then, because it gives you parking and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got a pretty hefty schedule.
Hey,
You got a hefty schedule. It's gonna be good, yeah.
I'm glad you're on there.
so we have 4 rooms then, for now? Yeah, I
And
guess
one?
Dave,
Yeah.
there are 5 rooms, yeah. So I guess Dave, you're
And I'd be working on, it's not during March break, I don't believe. March break is a week before. I could be wrong.
or you get 5, I guess.
If I go, I don't even,
Okay.
don't worry about that.
Are you registering for the conference, Emery?
As long as it doesn't coincide with DSAB, I could. I've got a trip planned in March, but it's the weekend before the municipal league, so I'm okay with that.
So you can let me know then.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
The whole package is good at the municipal league.
It is, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something that you guys think we should all try and go to if we can?
Yeah.
Okay, put me down.
March break's the week before.
Hey,
March break's the 13th to the 17th.
yeah. Okay then, we're good with
Okay.
that? Okay, we'll move on to the Memorial Bench and Table Program. I guess what you see some ideas there on Terrace Bay and Oakville. I guess the plan here is to get management or get administration to move forward to come up with a draft plan, what would
For Schreiber.
what would fit Schreiber, and benches and picnic tables for now. And we're not gonna cover all areas for sure, but, and then it would be branch out every year.
Where do you think you want to start with them, Lee? Like downtown?
Oh, definitely
Yeah.
downtown at your park,
Right.
and then branch out from there.
To me, this makes sense. This is, I think, a good program.
I mean, one where you could put is in front in Collingwood Court, like, and I would be going with the silhouette benches where you bolt them down onto cement. So, like the one, like for an example, the one at Collingwood Court. I mean, it's a great place for one, but there's no cement there. The bench is like this, and grass grows up in the middle of it. So let's do it right. Let's get a cement pad, have the silhouette benches. They're the ones that you can bolt down to the cement, and it makes your grass cutting easy and everything around it, and it's neat. It's
Okay.
and that's the kind of thing I would go. Just not okay. Let's varnish up a bit, or we don't want wood. We want
Composite material,
Yeah.
hey?
Throw a bench somewhere. Let's make sure that
Mhm.
we do it right. So if we can get administration, management to come back with a plan that would fit Schreiber, say the first, I don't know, say the first meeting in March. Is that plenty of time?
As long as you also don't want the ATV bylaw then.
Oh!
The ATV bylaw
Good
can
for
be,
you.
that can be
Yes, I
presented
do.
the second week in March.
Sounds like a plan. No, this is all good. Yeah.
Touche.
Yeah, exactly. Good on you. No, I like this idea.
No,
It's nice, you guys think.
Oh, absolutely. I was down in Terrace Bay and like, not right away when it was done, but I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
You see people sitting down there just taking, it's excellent.
It's nice, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Actually, beautification committee, I mean, it's an idea that's been around forever, but they talked about it and
Right.
everything, so, I mean, it's a great idea. I don't know why a town wouldn't do it, because
I think it's just 100% good. You walk by, you see the names, and you think
Yeah.
about the people, think good, you know what I mean?
it's like the mural project. Like, it's your artists from the area, and it involves your artists from the area, and it's just a community project, something, and not a very expensive one either, really.
No. And I mean, the thought of being able to provide sitting spaces in areas around downtown I think that's awesome.
I know we talked about the pride thing earlier too, community pride, and it just kind of brings that all back, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So now I guess we have to go back into the
Adjournment.
closed part of it for some training.
Can we just have a 5-minute?
I guess we don't have to.
Yeah.
But I guess we hang
Can we
on.
just have a 5-minute break before we go back into
Yeah,
closed
we
session?
gotta come out of here though.
That was a big thing.
Resolution 12-22, moved by Councillor Bryson, seconded by Councillor Burgeau, that the closed meeting resume at this time. All those in favor? Carried.